Hi,
Hello.
everyone. So excited to be here. I have a really good treat, a really special treat for you guys. So let me just make sure. There we go. I think we should be going live on Instagram, which we are. We're live. We
Perfect. Love
usually
it.
have this multiple streaming platforms, and we'll see. Fingers crossed. But hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Funke.afolabibrown. Excited to be here with you today on another episode of Candid Conversations. And I am so excited to have a friend here. We're actually almost neighbors, right?
Right? Yeah.
Adam from Ally Psych. So we're going to be talking about mental health in kids, which we know is just such an important conversation.
Yeah.
So I think a good place to start will be to have you introduce yourself.
Sure. Love to. And thank you for having me on this. Super excited about this. So I own Ally Psychological Services, or Ally Psych. It's a group private practice. We see kids as young as 4 or 5 through the lifespan. We do evaluations. We work with family therapy. We do medication management when appropriate in house. We can take care of pretty much any mental health need on the outpatient level. And we are located right in Doylestown.
Awesome. And one of the things we talked about just before we started, we hit go live
Yeah.
was the fact that you've been busier. And I
Mhm.
would say, I mean, that's a good thing for someone who
As
owns
a
a practice.
business, it is a good thing.
That's
Yeah.
it. And the fact that you have opportunities to help so many people with mental health issues. But the issue is that a lot of therapists, a lot of psychiatrists, a lot of mental health specialists are really seeing, and I personally as well, with my practice and taking care of kids and adults with sleep issues, we're seeing an uptick on
Yeah.
mental health issues. And it seems to be getting more, right? It seems to be getting
Mhm.
worse. And in some places they're like often wait lists, especially if you're going to see someone who's really qualified, highly specialized, and will be able to really give you high quality care. So
Yep.
maybe we could start off by just help us shed some light to that. Why is it that there's just sort of almost like a crisis right now?
Yeah. So I think we can have a optimistic view of
Mhm.
why and a bit more of a pessimistic view. The pessimistic view is the world we live in is getting more and more complex every day, every month, every year. And that by and large is due to greater access to information. And the flip side to that is people are becoming more aware and open about their
Mhm.
mental health struggles, which is the optimistic view of it. Is one of the reasons we're seeing an uptick in mental health service needs is because people are more comfortable asking for help. They don't want to suffer in silence anymore.
Mhm.
Parents are understanding that just because their child is having some behavioral or psychological concerns, it is not a reflection of their parenting.
Mhm.
What is a reflection in the best way of their parenting is when they ask for help, which is such a hard thing to do. But when they do that, it's them acknowledging, I want what's best for my child, help me. And I love that. I love when parents call us and are open to getting their kid the help and open to that feedback.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that outlook. I love that perspective, which is that people are becoming, we're normalizing that it is
Yeah.
completely appropriate to seek help and
Yeah.
not just try to figure it out and have kids struggle. And
No, and I think
yeah,
our society pressures parents to be perfect,
hmm,
and that as soon as you're a parent, somehow instantly you know everything,
hmm,
and you have to know what's wrong with your kid, how to
hmm,
fix it, say the right thing at the right time, in the right way, with the right tone. And there's no manual. And if there is a manual for parenting, it's wrong, because every child is unique and different, and every parenting situation, living situation, is unique and different. So how could there be a
hmm,
manual that fits everyone? So that's why such a personalized approach to therapy or parenting or, for you, sleep is
Mm,
so critical. Cookie cutter methods don't work. They're not effective.
yeah.
And I think the other thing that we're seeing is a lot of influence from social media, both
Mm,
on the parent side and the kid side, right? They're accessing devices at a younger and younger age and thus aware to so much more. And parents are also seeing a lot of influencers themselves. Like there's so many parent influencers on all of the social media that are making parents feel like shitty parents.
mm,
I don't know if I'm supposed to curse, but sorry. Um, they're making them feel like bad parents
mm.
because they're not perfect. They don't live up to the nonsense that these influencers are putting out there.
Yeah, yeah. And thanks for bringing that piece up. I think there's that shame piece that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of parents still struggle with. Like my child is struggling with a mental health issue,
Right.
anxiety, OCD, you name it,
Right.
depression. I'm at fault. I failed them in one way, shape, or form or the other, right? And I just think it is so disempowering, right?
Mm-hmm.
That parents have to go through that to say, well, you know what? Everybody's wired differently. There's so much pressure from the outside that
Yeah.
even if you did, like literally, like you said, read that perfect manual, they
Yeah.
might still end up needing the help they need. And I think, I really want to say thank you for giving us that permission to look beyond that and say, okay, what are the next steps and how do we navigate all of that to move to get our kids the help they need, and even us as parents, the help we need as parents.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something else I wanted to just connect, because I would say for sure this entire digital space and technology and social media, especially kids are getting younger, anywhere from like 7 or sometimes 6 already on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and all the way. And I get the brunt of it. I get kids being dragged into my office, and the parent is like, I need you to tell them to get off TikTok and go to bed. And I'm like, there's a lot more to it than
Right.
that.
If it would be that easy, I'd be out of a job.
Exactly.
So, right.
Yes. So maybe just shed some light on what the impact has been, just really from your practice, your experience, and really how that is really also shaping the landscape of mental health crisis right now that our kids are experiencing.
Yeah. It is such a multifaceted
Mm,
situation, right? So,
mm,
okay, on one hand, we have kids coming into my office saying, I have borderline personality disorder, or I'm autistic, or I have this, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. And I go, okay, maybe how do you know
mm,
that? They go, well,
mm.
I saw it on TikTok,
Wow.
and it's literally this other teenager posting, and they're saying, all right, hold up 5 fingers, and if you have one of these symptoms, put a finger down. And it's like, if you
Wow.
feel sad, or if you have racing thoughts, or like these general symptoms
Mm,
that are just human experience,
mm,
and then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I have X, Y, and Z. And again, maybe they do, but TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Snapchat isn't the place to diagnose oneself. Neither is WebMD or just the internet in general. Um, so we have that side of things, right? We
mm,
have people being influenced by uninformed or uneducated individuals who I'm sure are very well intended, but
mm,
missing the mark. On the other side of it, we have just general social media influencers who are putting out there that they have this literally picture perfect life, right? They're traveling, or they're, in the perfect relationship. They're getting to the best schools, or they love their parents love them, all of these
mm,
things. And what it's important to keep in mind is that social media is curated.
mm,
No one is posting pictures of, the bad times. No one's talking about that. To me, I love food, and it seems miserable to take a photo for 5 minutes of my food before I'm able to eat it for social media. Like, that's just not the right way to think about living life, right, for other people. And parents come in and go, you're right. You know what? I'm going to take social media away from my kid. They're not going to have it. I'm not even introducing them to social media until they're 14. And I go, well, that's not realistic. You're never going to do that unless you're following your child around 24/7. When they're at school, they're going to borrow a friend's device. They're going to download it on the phone you give them, then delete it when they get home. They'll whatever they need to do to get around your silly rule, they're going to do. So instead of pretending that the problem of social media doesn't exist or trying to ignore it altogether, what I encourage parents to do and what we teach parents to do here is to give their kids the skills on how to navigate social media when they inevitably encounter something that makes them feel some sort of negative way about themselves. So if it's body image stuff, then if they run into that, how do they navigate that? How can they talk about it? Make them aware of how to cope with it instead of pretending that they will never see it because you're going to withhold it from them. So giving them the skills and also giving parents the tools or the skills on how to have those conversations with their kids in a way that the kid will be receptive to, right? Because if a parent just goes in without proper, I'll say like training, the kid isn't going to be receptive to it at all. And the same thing I'm sure you experience with sleep. I have clients come in weekly that are saying, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm tired. I was up till 5 a.m. And I'm like, sir, it's 2 in the afternoon. Of course you're tired. How much sleep did you get? Like, well, all my friends were playing, so I had to stay up. And that is a much more impactful answer than it seems, because really what they're saying is, if I'm not playing video games, I'm left out. Like, this is when they have the time with their friends. And I'm sure you're familiar with the term revenge bedtime. And it's super quickly, just for everyone, when typically a teenager or kid is going to stay up, even adults will stay up later and not go to bed because their day is filled with so many obligations that they don't have time for themselves. So they sacrifice sleep in order to have time for themselves. If we think about a child's schedule during the school year, they wake up at like 6, they go to school until almost 3. Most kids now have extracurricular activities or on at least one sports team a season. They're doing, instrument lessons, dance classes, whatever it might be. And then they have to come home. Then they eat dinner. Then they have schoolwork. Then they have to study. Before you know it, it's 10 p.m. and they should be going to bed. But what they haven't done is anything for themselves. So, of course, they're going to want to stay up and talk to their friends or play video games because they need that socialization. So I work with parents and the kids on how to find that balance and what to adjust to help them feel like they're getting what they need without getting 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Oh, and I love this so much because that's something that gets in the way, right? And I usually talk about we talk about the almost like the insomnia triple threat in teenagers, and the fact that they're in a perfect storm, right? There is what you said, like the revenge bedtime procrastination. There is the fact that their minds are busy, they have anxiety, they're dealing with all this mental health issues.
Yeah.
And there's also just their physiology. They have a delayed circadian rhythm. So it's like they're in a perfect storm. And one of the things you talked about is their schedules are stuffed. They're busting at the seams. And there's no opportunity to come up for air. Now, and I know you do this, which is, and I would love, of course, you'll tell us how we can, really get your information, get stuff, because I love your content on social media and how you break this down so practically. But for that parent who's like, well, I want my kid to go to, the competition, to go to a good college, to make something of themselves and all of that. How do we balance that, knowing that if kids don't rest well, they're going to be more prone to having all the stress and anxiety
Yeah.
and mood issues, and then they're more likely to have issues with thriving when it comes to
Yeah.
academic performance. Like, how do they balance helping the kids set boundaries, helping them balance that really overstuffed schedule,
Right.
helping them still engage in social media and other interactions and video games or relaxation strategies without sacrificing things that matter, like, their sleep and things like
Yeah.
that.
So the quickest answer is lead by example.
Mm,
Right. So how often do we hear parents, or do the kids hear their parents talking about how busy they are, and what are they teaching them at home, that like if you're resting it's lazy, or if you're
mm,
not constantly moving or going or grinding at something, you're lazy, you're not going to be successful. So having parents give their kids permission to say no in the
yeah,
first place, because so often all of this is led by the parents, where it's
mm,
like, no, you have to do a sport, you have to be in extracurriculars, you can't just be home.
mm,
Like, that's ridiculous. And I get, the reality is that they may not be as competitive with the Ivy League, or the people who might be applying to the same colleges or universities. But I also don't think that it's as big of a deficit as people
mm,
make it out to be. Because if you can demonstrate that you are a well-rounded person, including self-care,
yeah,
that's a really strong skill to have, because universities and colleges don't need or want another super stressed out kid who
yeah.
they have to worry about if they get
So,
one bad mark on a grade, like that they're going to like literally lose their mind.
yeah,
There are so many ways to reframe what is a healthy living. I just don't think that our culture right now is in the mindset of honoring that. It used to, right? I never did extracurricular activities. I was one of the most unathletic humans ever, probably. Um, and, I got into a great college. I got into several grad school programs. If you can demonstrate the passion and explain why you didn't do X, Y, or Z,
yeah,
then everything tends to work out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like what you said, because I do have a few people, actually, some of my clients that have had to switch schools
Mhm.
because of that said pressure. So the pressure to get in, now really it's they literally hit a wall when they get to college. So there needs to be a balance. And I love what you said about, as parents, we have to be the role model to say, okay, I have boundaries. I
Right,
bring, I'm not taking work into bed with me. I'm not
right.
staying up all night long trying to, like, they are watching us more than they're
Mhm.
hearing what we're saying. And really being that true role model, I think, is so critical, and so
Absolutely.
thank you for sharing that. We're going to just change direction a little bit, because now this is another thing that I encounter a lot. Many times, even when it comes to sleep issues, folks are exhausted. Therapy takes some intention and finding the right connection, and you may
Yeah.
need to talk to so many people before finding the right fit in terms of a therapist, or
Mhm.
or a psychiatrist or whatever. Everybody wants meds.
Yes.
Everybody wants meds to wake up. They want meds to fall asleep, and they want meds to go through the day.
Sure.
And they want it for their kids because it's quick. Let's
Mhm.
go. Let's fix the problem and move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
Can you just speak on some of that a little bit?
Yeah. So, a lot of people think medication is like a car wash.
Mm,
You you drive up, you put your car in neutral, hands off the gas, hands off the wheel, go through, you're squeaky clean. The other end, you don't have to do anything. That's just not how it works. I always tell individuals, families, whoever, that really what medication is in its truest form how it should be for mental health. And this isn't everything. Some do need constant medication, but for the most part, medication gets you to a place where you are better able to learn and practice coping skills and strengthen them. And then as that strengthens, your reliance on the medication should decrease and the reliance on coping skills should increase. That is the ideal of how it works, right? Anxiety meds were never designed to be lifelong medication. They were meant for like a couple weeks at a time to get you through what was going on. So everything still requires a lot of work. And the reality is, when it's kids we're talking about, so often parents have to look in the mirror and what behaviors are they displaying at home? Because simply putting your kid on medication or putting your kid in therapy, well, your kid is picking up behaviors somewhere. And if parents or the other siblings in the house aren't also doing behavioral changes, why should they expect one individual in the family unit to magically change? And again, we're not talking about every single diagnosis under the sun. Some are very true biological or like chemical imbalances that require medication to correct all of that. But what we're talking about are behavioral concerns that parents very quickly want to say they need medication. Well, your kid got 4 hours of sleep for the past week and are stressed beyond belief. Of course, they're going to be cranky and yelling at you. Of course, they're not going to do what you ask them to do, where they're going to seem like they can't concentrate. They're sleep deprived. So we don't need medication, we need sleep. Or we don't need that type of medication. The medication is sleep in this case. So, just having that awareness. Now, again, sometimes, and we offer medication at the practice. So obviously I'm not opposed to that having its place in mental health, but I would never want to just shove pills down anyone's throat blindly. It should be a very calculated and intentional process and decision so everyone feels informed and comfortable.
Yeah. No, I really love that. And I love that approach. And I think that's one of the things that I observed with your practice, because we've been collaborating on patients. And that is the thing, you're coming at it with this really holistic lens. And I think it is so important to identify, like, where is this coming from and get to the root cause. Yes, there might be times when we need medicine as a bridge, but that's what it should be, a bridge, until we get to, actually identify what the issues are and getting you the care you need. And I think that's just so powerful. I could take us to so many places, but I'm going to spare you because I think we would love to have you come back and just really go to town on some of these other issues. But where can people find you?
Yeah. So if you're looking for services, the best way would be going to our website, ally, ALLY, psych, PSYCH.com. On that, if you're on your phone, there's literally a button at the bottom that says text now, call now. Click either of those. You're going to talk to Emily, who is our practice coordinator. It's not some robot or automated service. It's going to be a real human. Her name is Emily. Say hi to her. And she will get you set up with any of the services that you're interested in, get you all the information, answer all of the questions. If you're looking for general mental health information or like educational information and some fun at it, my Instagram, my TikTok, it's all Ally Psych PA as the handle. I started creating videos because I was tired of all of the BS that was being spewed out on social media by non-licensed individuals. So I try to right some of that wrong that's out there. So give a follow, say hi, and hopefully we can help some people that are watching this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, and you guys definitely check out Dr. Adams' page, Ally Psych PA, and the website as well. There's just so much value that you share, and I want to say thank you for that. And even from our comments, I could see someone said, "Great talk." Thank you so much, Sheon. And Danielle said, this was one of the best lives I've watched. Even though my boys are grown, I highly recommend listening to the recording. Thank you so much. It was
Thank
short
you.
and sweet, but really the goal is to provide value, to help you know that we have to normalize the fact that there is a need right now. There's a need for kids to get help. The same way if you have a stubbed toe, you would address it. So if you have a child who is struggling, they don't have to go through it alone. They don't have to toughen it up or toughen it out. There's help out there. And I think Dr. Adam and the work he does is phenomenal and really does address so many of those issues. And of course, if you're out there and you're struggling where sleep is concerned, either your kids are struggling with either insomnia or difficulties with sleeping, either from a medical standpoint or behavioral or mental health standpoint that's contributing to their sleep issues, we at the Restful Sleep Place will be more than happy to welcome you. So check out our website at therestfulsleepplace.com.
And my clients that we've referred absolutely love you. So,
oh, thank you. Thank you
yeah.
so much. That's so kind of you. All right, everyone. Until next time, I hope you rest well.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.